challenging chronic and complex health conditions. HealthSourceAcupuncture.com. Broadleys is your local source for plumbing, heating, and air conditioning service and installation since 1911. Call 609-390-3907 or visit broadleys.net. First Bank of Sea Isle, Cape May County's community bank. Hot Bagels, your local bagel store. Always fresh, always delicious. Storybookland. Create your own story at Storybookland.
Thank you for supporting your local businesses from Town Square Media, South Jersey.
Home of the Sports Bash with Mike Gill, 97.3 ESPN, WENJ, WENJ HD, Millville, Atlantic City. This is Game Night with Josh Hennig.
Let's go!
On 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
And he scored!
Now live from inside the Ocean Casino Resort Studio, here's Josh Hennig.
We are one day closer to the rematch of the Eagles and the Packers this Sunday. Of course, you hear the game here on 97.3 ESPN. Merrill Reese, Mike Quick calling all of the action. We got the latest information for you on the Eagles injury report and the key matchups for the game, plus Rob Maaddi from the Associated Press will join us coming up in less than 20 minutes from now. Of course, he has been busy all week collecting all the votes for the AP All-Pro teams, awards, so we'll get his insights into all of that. One of the interesting factoids that have come out of all the news today with the Eagles All-Pro team, and you can get more information about which Eagles were selected to the All-Pro teams over at our website, 973ESPN.com, and on the 973 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle. The Philadelphia Eagles are the only team in the NFL that received votes for every single one of their offensive linemen. And if you were listening to John McMullen with Mike Gill on the Sports Bash earlier today, you would have heard that Cooper DeJean came in third place for the nickel corner spot. So Eagles actually got a lot of recognition with the All-Pro voting, but that'll be part of our conversation coming up with Rob Maaddi. Before I get to your guys' thoughts and comments on the game this Sunday, text board is open, 609-403-0973, or live on my YouTube channel at Josh Hennig. Like, subscribe, share with your friends. And, of course, you can comment and listen on the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle. We are looking at this game through a specific lens because the injury report came out today. And I got to tell you guys, I'm a little less concerned about the Eagles side than I am the other side. Because I genuinely believe that when you are talking about this game on Sunday, the fact that the Eagles did not list either A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith as questionable or as doubtful or anything is a clear sign to me they're both playing. And I know there's people who are trying to read a lot into this stuff. I thought the way A.J. Brown said it earlier today was right. Listen, everyone is injured this time of year. Everyone is banged up. It is what it is, okay? I don't think it goes without saying that the Philadelphia Eagles are just the healthier team going into this matchup. It's a very, very, very simple equation. The Philadelphia Eagles are the healthier team. The two players who were ruled out are both backups. Trevor Keegan, your backup interior lineman, who has barely played at all this year, and Byron Young, basically the fifth or sixth D tackle on the team. And he's probably not playing anyway because he's coming off of injured reserve. So, frankly, Philadelphia is way healthier than a Packers team that listed 5 guys as questionable. 2 of them just returned to practice this week. Quay Walker, the linebacker, and the rookie safety, Evan Williams. And as John Gruden pointed out on his YouTube channel, Gruden Loves Football, he explained the Packers have had a rotating cast at safety this year, and that even if Evan Williams can play, it's no guarantee that it's actually going to solve anything for the Packers defense.
The biggest problem is at safety. We know McKinney has 8 interceptions, number 29. He's been great, but the other safety has been a revolving door. Evan Williams, good solid rookie player, was playing well. He's been hurt. Is he going to come back? We need him back. His backup 39, Zane Anderson, got hurt in Minnesota. They had to play a rookie last week, number 27 out of Oregon State. We've even seen Bullard play safety, and I think that really hurt him on the long touchdown against Minnesota. So who is the safety opposite McKinney?
You heard him mention Zane Anderson. He has been ruled out for the game. Anderson's one of their most important special teams contributors. He is their backup safety. He has been ruled out. He is in the NFL concussion protocol. So you will not see him available for Green Bay this Sunday. So even if Evan Williams does get back, this is a Packers defense that can be taken advantage of. And that's part of the reason why I am personally, not worried about the Eagles' passing offense. My question for the Eagles comes down to, can they get off to a good start in the game? This is a team that has fallen behind in almost every game this season. They have been a slow starting team. And how many times have we talked about here on 97.3 ESPN how you cannot go into a playoff game and be the team that starts out slowly? How does Philadelphia get off to a fast start? Well, I think one of the ways they do it is by being more aggressive when it comes to the run game. I think that they take way too long to get the run game going early in the game. It's almost like they're feeling out their opponent to be like a fighter, throwing a bunch of jabs just to see what the opponent is going to do before they actually throw any combinations. It's just, it takes too long. And I know those Eagle fans at Lincoln Financial Field this Sunday with that 4:30 kickoff after they've been, shall I call it, indulging, consuming all day long. They're looking at this game and they're saying, look, we understand. The Eagle fan is not going to be patient with this team. This is the playoffs. This is not the game against the Browns where you're coming off of a bye week. You got to come out here and not have the same problems that created those slow starts with the bad script to start the game. It's going to be unacceptable. Now, on the flip side, is there something Philadelphia can do specifically about the Green Bay Packers? Well, one of my keys to the game, John Gruden explains on the Gruden Loves Football YouTube channel that there is something specific you have to do to the Packers in order to neutralize their offense.
Stop the run. Philadelphia, Carter, Davis, number 90, Milton Williams, number 93, Dean and Bond against Josh Jacobs and company. If the Eagles can knock out the run, they can cut some of their pass rushes loose. But it's going to be a very physical slugfest when this Green Bay Packer offense has the ball against the Eagles.
In three of the four lowest rushing games for the Green Bay Packers this year, they lost all of them. And two of those losses were to the Minnesota Vikings. Overall, the Packers in their losses are averaging 128 rushing yards per game. In their wins, they're averaging 156 rushing yards per game. That is a 28-yard difference in terms of rushing. So if you can get to them, if you can limit them in the running game, you are going to let the pass rush get after them. And as John Gruden explains, there was one player that gave the Packers a lot of problems week 1 in Brazil, the first time Philadelphia and Green Bay played.
But I did see Sweat, number 19, give Rasheed Wallace some fits in that first game up in Brazil. Wallace had 2 holding calls. We got to keep an eye on that moving forward.
Talk about Rasheed Walker. According to Pro Football Focus, Rasheed Walker is 21st in the NFL in pass blocking, and he is 108th in run blocking. This guy is not very good. And I know people have brought up the stat about how Jordan Love gets the ball out of his hands quickly. Sorry, how the Packers haven't been sacked a lot. Well, they haven't been sacked because Jordan Love's done a very good job of getting the ball out of his hands quickly. I inverted that answer. But the point is that it's not that the Packers O-line is great. It's that they scheme to protect Jordan Love the best they can. But Jordan Love has been injured multiple times this year. And if Josh Sweat can get after the quarterback, if he can abuse Rasheed Walker, right? If you can go into this game and stop the Packers' run game, you will force them to become one-dimensional for a team that is without their deep threat receiver, for a team with a mediocre at best offensive line. The Eagles should be able to assert their will on Sunday at Lincoln Financial Field. Text board is open. 609-403-0973. Your DMs, Ian to 973 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. Andrew to Summers Point chimes in and says, but isn't it about gamesmanship? We don't want to alert the other team that Brown is injured or Smith has a bad back, etc. Well, it's not about gamesmanship in this circumstance because, typically what happens is if a guy is questionable to play, you have to put that on the injury report or you can get in trouble with the league, Andrew, at Summers Point. I think that, first of all, you mentioned about Brown, okay? Here's what Nick Sirianni said about Hurts and A.J. Brown to start off his press conference.
Protocol is going Sunday?
Yeah, he was made it through the protocol.
How's he look this week to you?
It's had a good week of practice, really good week.
Give us any update on A.J. Brown, how he's feeling, and what your expectations are for practice here in a little bit.
Yeah, you'll see the injury report from today, but giving him some rest at this stage in the season. Been a long road, so giving him some rest yesterday to make sure that he's in best shape he can be to play on Sunday.
That's really what it's about. A.J. Brown talked about how, the knee issue is still lingering. Remember that hip drop / horse collar tackle he sustained a few weeks ago that was not called by the referees because the referees were being blind idiots? Well, apparently that's still bothering him. It's not bothering him that they won't play, but it's bothering him enough that having a day or two extra off. And listen, these guys are human. I'm sure that the fluctuating weather temperatures, the snow, the changing of the barometric pressure, these are all things that are impacting these guys' health, their bodies, their sanity. So I'm sure that some of the back tightness for Devonta Smith and the knee tenderness for A.J. Brown, it might be a little weather-related too. And you know what? These guys are going to do whatever it takes to get on the field on Sunday. So I am not worried about either one, Andrew, in Summers Point. So I think it's not about gamesmanship. I think those guys are legitimately going to be fine. We'll get more into NFL wildcard weekend, Eagles and Packers, and more with Rob Maaddi from the Associated Press. Joining me, Josh Hennig, live in the Ocean Casino Resort Studios on 97.3 ESPN FM. Don't forget the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. It's free thanks to First Bank of Sea Isle City.
The semifinals of the college football playoff. The Texas Longhorns.
Hook 'em horns! They're headed home! Texas!
The Ohio State Buckeyes.
That's what Ohio State is. They're hitting on all cylinders.
Wow!
The semifinals of the college football playoff continue tonight with Ohio State, Texas at 7 Eastern on ESPN Radio.
It's College Bowl season on 97.3 ESPN, your home for the College Football National Championship game.
Winter savings are heating up at Boardwalk Honda. With over 200 new vehicles in stock and dropping interest rates, there's never been a better time to buy. Plus, qualified buyers pay nothing for 90 days with approved credit. Our expert team is ready to help you find your perfect Honda with personalized service that puts you first. Visit BoardwalkHonda.com or stop by today. Hurry, these deals won't last. Boardwalk Honda, your trusted destination for exceptional Honda savings this season. No payments for 90 days requires approved credit. See dealer for complete details.
Life insurance. Why are you putting it off? Can't afford it? Too much hassle? Think you don't need it? There's lots of excuses for putting off life insurance. But if you weren't there, who would pay the mortgage and other bills? With Ethos, you could be covered in 10 minutes and boom, family protected. Ethos, fast and easy online term life insurance. Up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam. Some policies as low as $1 a day. Answer a few health questions and get your free quote at tryethos.com. That's tryethos.com.
Shop now at the Home Depot and get up to 35% off select appliances. Plus, save up to an extra $400 on select appliances like Frigidaire. From the stainless steel French door refrigerator with crisp steel drawers to keep produce fresh longer, to the 5-burner electric range that lets you cook more at once and get meals on the table faster. Right now, get up to 35% off select appliances like Frigidaire. The Home Depot. How doers get more done. Pricing valid January 9th through January 29th. U.S. only. See store online for details and minimum purchase required.
A Gain Scent Bead story. Jim was at the laundromat when he heard his ear said, "Maraca, senor," but his nose said, "Hey, freshest scent ever." Following his nose, Jim found a man pouring a bottle of Gain Scent Beads into the washer. The scent, the freshness. Jim blurted, "Sir, your scent Maraca smell amazing." Actually, Jim, most noses call them Gain Scent Beads. Try Gain Scent Beads, way fresher than detergent alone.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting great candidates? It seems impossible to find them. Well, they're not hard to find when you know where to go. ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. And because these people are actively looking for jobs just like yours, it's easy to find the right person right away. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
This is the story of the one who, as a maintenance specialist for a historic high-rise, knows that vintage charm historically needs constant attention. Which is why when it's time to upgrade turn-of-the-century mechanicals, they turn to Grainger. With easy access to 1 million-plus products and the scale to deliver when and where you need them, the right tools and supplies are never far away. So the one can keep that vintage building running like new. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
This is the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network.
Progressive Insurance presents the Sports Flash on 97.3 ESPN. NHL, the Flyers lose to the Dallas Stars on Thursday night 4-1, 4 straight losses for Philadelphia, and will continue their homestand Saturday as they take on the Anaheim Ducks. The Eagles taking on the Green Bay Packers on Sunday. Jalen Hurts returned to practice this week out of the NFL concussion protocol. Packers quarterback Jordan Love, he's dealing with an elbow injury. Philadelphia at 13-4, they went 12-2 after the bye week, earning a 2 seed in the NFC. Green Bay a 7 seed. And Philadelphia featuring the number 2 rushing attack in the NFL, led by Saquon Barkley, who had over 2,000 yards rushing this season. NBA, the Sixers home tonight as they take on New Orleans. Joel Embiid ruled out for tonight's game with a foot injury. Paul George, who's missed the last 2 games, a game-time decision tonight, dealing with a groin issue. Progressive Insurance, bundle auto and home, renters or condo, and save with Progressive. I'm Tony Desiri, and that's your Sports Flash on 97.3 ESPN.
The 2025 Hercules Tires MAC Basketball Championships are returning to Atlantic City's iconic Jim Whalen Boardwalk Hall for the 6th consecutive year, March 11th through the 15th, featuring 22 men's and women's teams. The tournament is fun for the family, featuring a band jam, Spirit Squad showcase, Kids Day, and mascot game. Don't miss the chance to be a part of the action to see who will cut down the nets and earn a spot in the big dance. Visit MacSports.com/basketball for more information.
From the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network, I'm Chief Meteorologist Dan Zarrow. The weekend starts wintry, but ends with sunshine and seasonable temperatures. Tonight will be cloudy and seasonally cold, low at 27. A snow shower may creep in after midnight. Tomorrow, light snow in the morning, up to an inch or two of fresh accumulation. Then late day clearing with a stiff breeze, high of 37 tomorrow. Sunday looks like a nice January day with sunny skies and a high around 41. Get weather 24/7 wherever you are. Download our free mobile app today.
If you or someone you know needs help getting through a difficult time, start with NJ211. When you reach out to 211, we can connect you to help with housing, utilities, food, childcare, senior services, income support, healthcare, legal issues, and more. Help is available in over 150 languages, and the service is free, confidential, and available 24/7. Need help? Dial 211, text 898-211, or search nj211.org.
This is Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
Busy football weekend tomorrow on 97.3 ESPN. Of course, the doubleheader tomorrow on 97.3 ESPN. Chargers, of course, taking on the Texans, followed by Steelers and Ravens. Sunday, we will have Eagles versus Packers coverage beginning at 3 o'clock, followed by Commanders and Bucks. And, of course, Monday night, don't forget, it is still Vikings and Rams. It's not in Los Angeles. It is going to be in Arizona. Get to all that and more is the man who has probably had the longest week of his life, Rob Maaddi from the Associated Press. He's more than the AP senior NFL writer. He is the man who has to collect all of the votes from the voters. And, well, Rob, I'm sure for you, it's great to give those special moments to those guys to tell them they got the All-Pro. But what people don't see is all the work you put in behind the scenes to get to that point.
Oh, man, Josh, I just literally stopped now for a break from counting the awards ballots. But All-Pro is more tedious because of all the positions. It takes a whole lot of work. Grateful I had a ton of help this year from a few colleagues. One particular colleague, our San Francisco 49ers beat writer, Josh Dubow, who's awesome with numbers. He writes an Inside the Numbers column for us every week. So he's a whiz. So he helped out, which allowed me to be able to do some of those videos, man. Those were really cool. Just getting the opportunity to share with some of the guys. Justin Jefferson's reaction to being unanimous was really cool. Derek Stingley, everybody's telling me, hey, Derek's like a really low-key guy. He doesn't get too excited over anything. And I asked him about goals and personal achievement, and he's talking about team first in the secondary. And then I tell him, and he's like, oh, that's crazy. So that was really cool.
The Tristan Wirfs one. The Tristan Wirfs one is great.
Tristan Wirfs, I can't take any credit for that. That was Danielle Burns from the Bucks PR staff who came up with this idea, and she had the T-shirt made for his 10-month-old son Julius. My daddy's an All-Pro.
Yep.
Set it up. Let's have you interview. You know, I said I'll come in. I'll interview Tristan. That's how I do it with everybody. I'm afraid at some point the more of these become more popular and more visible, guys. And I've already been told by some teams, as soon as we put somebody on a Zoom with you, they're going to know. It's kind of like the Hall of Fame knock, right? If they get on if they get on a Zoom and they see Rob Maaddi on the other side, they're gonna go, I made All-Pro. So I don't want to ruin it like that. We got to get. But yeah, Tristan was really awesome. What's cool is to see so many of the teams rally and get behind it and be like, just go out of their way. The Buccaneers, which they got a playoff game this week, they went out of their way to do this. I will say only one team was not cooperative. I'm not going to name that team, but it was extremely disappointing.
I'm showing the video right now on my YouTube channel of him getting his son with the shirt. It says the fact that Tristan has no idea at first what's going on. Like he's just like, oh, it's my kid, and he's like, oh wait, what?
I set it up by asking him, how tough it was, because last year I talked to him about moving from right side to the left side of the offensive line, and he's telling me it's like learning how to drive all over again. I'm glad he wasn't the one who Penei Sewell when I asked him about it, he was like, it's like learning how to wipe your butt with the other hand. Tristan at least used a different analogy. So I'm setting him up, and I'm like, well, yeah, obviously. And then here comes his girlfriend and his son. So it was perfectly they set up. I like how the Buccaneers had like 3 cameras and a whole crew. Meanwhile, you see the difference with my video, like one iPhone, just like a wide shot. I got to get me a crew like that. The Bucs had a great crew. They did an awesome job with that.
Hey man, I might know a guy. I'm just saying, I might know a guy. So
all right, you're gonna have to fly because I'm not gonna say anything about who's uncooperative, but it would require you to get on a plane.
I'll have your people call my people, okay?
I like it, Josh. I like it. There's some football that like I made my picks. I looked at all the games early in the week before getting overwhelmed with all the ballots.
Right.
And now I'm at that point right now where it's like, wait, there's some football this weekend, and I need to like regroup and figure out who's playing where. I was on a call with Derek Stingley and or was it Pat Surtain? No, it was Stingley. And I said, man, you got a tough matchup this week. Russell Wilson's coming into town, and your fate. And he's like, and he's such a nice kid. They're playing the Chargers. And he's like, well, he didn't stop. He could have been a jerk. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm forgetting who's playing who. All I'm seeing is numbers right now.
It's funny you said that because I remember listening to Ryan Clark tell a story about Stingley, about how that apparently when he first got to LSU, he was so afraid to bother people to ask questions about where to go for things that he would just walk around aimlessly. And Ryan Clark ran into him, was like, hey, bro, you need something? He's like, well, I don't want to bother anyone. He's like, bro, you're like a 5-star recruit. You have every right to bother people.
It's funny. I got that out of him yesterday. Just talking to him a little bit. He's that kind of kid, quiet, shy, reserved, don't want to bother nobody.
Incredibly gifted as an athlete, though. Freakishly gifted as an athlete, which is wild.
And you know what else, Josh, too? After his first 2 years, because he went right ahead of Sauce Gardner. After his first 2 years, he had some injuries. He didn't play up to his potential. Sauce is all-pro first 2 years, and everybody's like, oh, how could the Texans make that selection? They should have taken Sauce Gardner. And then things just turn. Sometimes you just need patience with these guys. He was healthy this year. He was an all-pro. Sauce had a down year. So you never know, man. If teams are more patient with their players, take time to work with them and develop them and coach them up, some of these guys that we label prematurely as busts may not necessarily, they could pan out eventually.
Telling Rob Maaddi from the Associated Press here on 97.3 ESPN. Of course, he is the man who collects and has to deliver the news about who made the All-Pro teams. I thought the stat that you put out there earlier today, Rob, is interesting. The Eagles are the only team in the NFL with all 5 of their O-linemen getting All-Pro votes. And it's amazing because coming into this year, we all had questions, right? Oh, you're replacing Jason Kelce with Juergens. The guy who's barely played center in his life. You have Becton moving from tackle to guard. Is Dickerson going to stay healthy? Is Lane's 34? Is he getting up there? And at the end of the year, there's a Jeff Stoutland magic, whatever you want to call it, right? He's got these guys playing like a bunch of freaks. And now, apparently, according to Jordan Mailata, Lane is mad that he didn't get the first team All-Pro. He's going to play with an edge on Sunday.
Jordan said that publicly? Yeah, Lane is, I know all about that. Lane is pretty mad. Not mad at me. I'm not a voter.
Right. He's not mad at you. No.
There are, and understandably so, because if you look at some of those stats, there's and he did you see what he posted at his locker instead of talking to the media today?
Yeah, I'm pulling up the picture right now for everybody.
Yeah, if you look at that, but going back to, you mentioned Jeff Stoutland, the job that he's done, even Mekhi Becton comes in, a guy who didn't live up to expectations as a first-round tackle with the New York Jets. He's playing right guard, and he ends up getting a 5th place vote. So you got a second place, a second place vote. Cam Jurgens got 1 first and 4 seconds, and Landon Dickerson got 1 first and 15 seconds, and of course Mailata and Lane Johnson both end up making second team All-Pro, which is a pretty impressive achievement because, as you know, All-Pro isn't like the Pro Bowl. There's
Correct.
only 2 guys selected at each tackle spot. So you're the second vote getter, and it's across the NFL, not AFC and NFC. So Lane Johnson comes in second. I think when it's all said and done, he's a Hall of Famer. And even though it's not a first team, you start counting those second teams towards the Hall of Fame, towards that gold jacket.
I believe he has 6 altogether now. If you add the first and second teams all up, I think this is now his 6 overall.
Which is right. Like he to me, he doesn't have to play again another down, which we hope he does, obviously, but he doesn't have to play another down. And I think he should be a Hall of Famer.
Now, I will say, and I'm not trying to diminish the Lane Johnson case, but I do think that maybe part of the reason why people voted for Penei Sewell over Lane Johnson, Rob, is because of the fact that, Lane played for a team that had the fewest pass attempts in the NFL this year, Philadelphia Eagles. So Lane is playing on an offensive line that is pass blocking a lot less than Penei Sewell. So I think maybe that is the rationalization of the voters, that Penei's getting more coming at him than Lane is.
I think that could be part of the explanation, part of the reasoning, because it was a wider disparity. Lane Johnson got 15 first place votes and Penei got the other 35. So it's not like they were 24, 26 or 27, 23. That's a pretty wide disparity. And I thought it would be closer, but when you look at the breakdown, what we're seeing in front of us, it would skew towards Lane. But as you mentioned, run blocking is more advantageous for the offensive line, right? And for guys like I love when you see offensive linemen yelling at their coach, let's run the ball, because they want to do some damage. They want to be the enforcers out there. They want to be the ones who are hitting rather than retreating in pass protection. And the fact that the Lions certainly threw the football, everybody almost threw the football more than the Eagles, may have been a factor. I think that's a great point you make.
The other interesting thing is, by the way, it's ironic, though, because the team they're playing this week, Rasheed Walker, the tackle for the Packers, he is actually rated one of the worst run blockers in football, but he's a top 25 pass blocker. So it's like, it's ironic that the Eagles are going against a team that likes to run like they do, but there is one guy on their line who is not very good at it. So it's like, in general, Rob, we say, hey, linemen like to block, and yet the Packers found the one guy who's not very good at
the one guy who does better retreating than being on the attack and being the aggressor. There's got to be some guys out there who are better at pass pro than run blocking. And I think a lot of that, and talking to Tristan about it yesterday, because the Buccaneers went from being last in the NFL in rushing 2 years in a row to number 4 this year. It's a mentality. It's just the will to want to overpower your opponent, to out physical them. That's what comes down to at run blocking. At pass as a pass protector, you're getting attacked, you're retreating, and it's hard to be aggressive. You're just doing everything you possibly can to protect yourself and the quarterback from these guys who are big, strong, fast, coming at you from all different angles and everything that they can do. I think it's an opportunity as a run blocker to where you can impose your will. That's why I love seeing when the Eagles can control the clock for 9-10 minutes at a time, especially running out the game, because that's the offensive line dominant. And they're out there, Josh, the entire game. They're not getting rotated in and out like the defensive linemen, which is also another reason why they're at a disadvantage.
Let's get into the Eagles-Packers game a little more, Rob. I think that it's very important to point out, I mentioned it earlier before you came on, the Eagles are the healthier team. They have no starters, questionable, doubtful, nothing. I know that Devontae Smith, he's got a little bit of a back tightness, and A.J. Brown, apparently, he's got some lingering effects from the hip drop tackle that was not called a few weeks ago. But I got to be honest, Rob, these are human beings. I chalk some of it up to the changing weather patterns, barometric pressure and all that stuff. So I'm not going to act like that A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith aren't going to be able to go on Sunday when they actually are. And I do think the fact that Philly is healthy, the Packers are not, is a huge part of this game on Sunday.
Yeah, and I think the Packers, obviously Jordan Love's going to play, and he probably could have played last week, come back in the game if if the game mattered to the Packers. But they lose Christian Watson, and that's a loss offensively for them. Jalen Hurts finally clears concussion protocol. He's back out there. There was no doubt that Jalen Hurts was going to play. And as you said, with Devontae, with A.J. Brown, nobody's healthy. Nobody's 100% healthy. It's just who's healthier, who's bumps and bruises, who's whatever it is that's going on isn't as bad as another team. And certainly I think that's advantageous for the Eagles in this one. I am a little bit concerned that Jalen hasn't been out there in 3 weeks, and you don't know what it's going to look like. Now he can go out there in the first pass of the game. He can hit Devontae for a 50-yard gain and be like, all right, there we go. We don't need any time. They didn't miss a beat, but there's the possibility of some rust. There's certainly the possibility of some rust, not only with Jalen, but the entire offense, because Saquon didn't play last week, and the starters on both sides didn't play last week. So there's the possibility of that. And other than that, I don't really have a lot of concern with this game. I think it's another one where the Eagles should win unless they somehow self-destruct and beat themselves. Turnovers, penalties, mistakes. They're the better team. They have more talent. As you said, they're healthier going into the game. They're home. They have the home field advantage. Now the Packers are the only number 7 seed in NFL history to beat a number 2 seed, and it's only been since 2020. It's not like we're going back 50 years that the NFL expanded to 14 teams, and that was last year when the Packers beat the Cowboys. But this Eagles team isn't that Cowboys team. I don't think they're going to choke in the playoffs, and I think they got a real shot if they come out and they can take a little bit of time maybe to build that chemistry back up again, to get in a rhythm and withstand that, even though they haven't played together in a while, because they got that defense that I think can shut down or at least limit Green Bay early, and with the guys that they're missing. Like, to me, this team is so built, and I've said it all year, Josh, they're so built for this moment, for this opportunity, for January. Run the football, allow Jalen to get back in the groove a little bit, and let the defense go out there and do what they've been doing. Jalen Carter was a second-team All-Pro. Zach Bond was a first-team All-Pro. There were some votes for Cooper DeJean and Quinn and Mitchell, and these guys are a talented group. And it's their time to get out there and get the job done.
And to your point about the Packers, last year, the Packers won 6 of their final 8 games going into the postseason. This year's Packers, they were 2-3 down the stretch. So last year, you could say the Packers were a hot team. This year, Rob, in the last 5 games, they were averaging fewer total yards per game than they were on the season. Like, this is a team that literally started to come apart at the seams a little bit. And then they lose Christian Watson. Yeah, I'm with you. I look at the Eagles and say their defense is much better now than they were in Brazil, and that I think the Eagles are just a more talented team. And like you said, if the Eagles don't implode, they'll be fine.
I took him as my best bet of the week. I forget the score. I'm trying to find it, but I took him as my best bet. I think this game is the one that I feel most confident in as far as the spread. I think the Ravens are going to beat the Steelers. I don't know if it's going to be by 9.5. I kind of feel like that might be a little bit closer, given how
I don't think it's going to be that number.
How they've played against Lamar historically. He only finally beat them the last time they played. So this is the one game where I feel confident. Last I saw was 4.5 when I had to make my picks on Wednesday. I feel confident that this is a game that the Eagles are going to win and they're going to cover, and it's not going to be at any point late in the fourth quarter where we're concerned about the outcome of this game. Now, I remember last time the Eagles played the Packers in a wild card game in Philly, where Green Bay was the lowest seed coming out of the NFC. That, you remember that? Aaron Rodgers beat Michael Vick. Michael Vick threw that pick to
2010.
Riley Cooper, right? And the Pack go on and win their only Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers that year. And then, of course, there was before that, there was the previous time, the Freddie Mitchell 4th and 26 game. When the Eagles won that one, they convert the 4th and 26. Then Brett Favre ends up throwing a Hail Mary interception that in overtime or something like that, where to Brian Dawkins.
It was overtime, yeah.
Yeah, it was. I watched that game. That was the only playoff game I missed in 22 years covering the Eagles because I had ACL surgery and I couldn't move.
You mentioned about the Steelers and Ravens. Let's hit on that really quick because I think that, to your point, no Zay Flowers is a huge loss for the Ravens offense. And I'm not saying they can't win the game, but Rob, I'm looking at this matchup, and I feel like this is going to be a low-scoring rock fight because Steelers, they haven't been scoring a lot of points. Ravens defense, they've gotten better in the last several weeks. And then no Zay Flowers, I mean, you're losing a 1,000-yard receiver from an offense.
Yeah, and don't forget playoff Lamar. He's 2-4 in the playoffs, and his numbers are nowhere near what he's been able to put up in the regular season. So Zay Flowers, this is an odd stat. The only Pro Bowl wide receiver in the history of the Baltimore Ravens franchise, and he's out. He's not going to be able to play. So they're going to need, whether it's Nelly or somebody else, to step up in this game. I think it's going to be close. I know the Steelers have been in a funk since the Eagles beat them. They've lost 4 in a row. They're like the epitome of a team limping into the playoffs. But I just wouldn't count out Mike Tomlin as a coach, and Russell Wilson's got something to prove now. For a while there, it looked like, all right, Russ is back, and now he's again playing for a job next year. So I think it's going to be a tight game. I love that it's on Saturday night. Like that's going to be great watching that game. It's going to be old school, a whole lot of old school football, I think. And I'm excited to see if Lamar can come out there and just, he was first team All-Pro today. Can he play up to that level in a playoff game? Got to see it when everything matters. Everything counts.
Rob, before I let you go, the game that I think a lot of people are not talking enough about, because I know that the fires in California have kind of consumed the story, but I think the Rams are going to win this game Monday night because of the fact that I think they're the veteran team. They have the coach who's been there and done that. They have the quarterback who's been there and done that. I think that is going to matter in a game like this. And I think while the Vikings are a very good football team and they've had a great season, to me, I just think that give me the guys who have been through everything, basically, in a weird situation over the guys who haven't been there.
I understand your logic with that, and Sean McVay is a great coach. Kevin O'Connell's had a great season, what he's been able to accomplish with Sam Darnold. I wonder, human nature, Josh, guys from LA on that team, there's got to be people that I know nobody personally has been impacted by, but there's some staff members.
Right.
Like, just to have that scenario happening in your city, to have to go play in Arizona, there's got to be a little bit of a human factor, a little bit of a letdown, and like a little bit of an emotional drainage there, that they got to get themselves ready for a football game, a playoff game, and a good thing for them is it's Monday night. It's not Sunday. It's not Saturday. A little bit more time removed from it. But that also helps the Vikings, I feel, because it's going to be a different crowd. And listen, we all know anytime you're in LA against the Rams, the home team could be have more fans there than anybody else. It was interesting to see 52,000 fans bought tickets. Rams and Cardinals fans were the ones who were first open too, and they 52,000 like in a day. That's pretty impressive. I don't know if they discounted the tickets or what they did, but that's a great job by the NFL selling them. But I'll bet you there's going to be a whole lot of purple in those stands too. I took the Vikings to win this game. I just think the way they lost last week against Detroit, if they come out there and lose again, like that's a big, to go 14-3 and then lose that one last week where everything's on the line and then just fall apart and lose again, it really is, it dampens their season. So I expect to bounce back this week out of them.
Rob, before I let you go, I said earlier this week, and I've been saying it all week, if I am the Eagles and the Lions and every other team, I am rooting for Washington Sunday night because I think Tampa is the scariest team out there. I think Baker Mayfield, what he did in Kansas City, Rob, in primetime, almost being the Chiefs without Evans, without Godwin. Like I said it earlier this week, I would say Mayfield is the 5th best quarterback in the playoffs right now. I think that the way he is playing, the way Evans is playing, if you are a team, you do not want to see those guys coming into their house because really the only guys I can think of I would be more scared of in a tie game with 2 minutes left with the ball in their hands is what? Mahomes and Stafford over Mayfield. I think Mayfield is at that level right now.
Josh, I think he's extremely underrated given what he's been able to do. I agree with you. Like what he has done this season is incredibly impressive. 4th guy in NFL history to throw for over 4,000 yards, 40 touchdowns, and have a 70-plus passer completion percentage. And he also had a passer rating over 100. Like 4th guy ever to do that. And he's out there running the football as tough as being as physical as he can. Guys would just run through a wall for him. The only thing that would not concern me from an opposing team's perspective is that depleted secondary. They're getting Antoine Winfield back, but he's been out a lot this year. Like last week, I watched Spencer Rattler from the Saints pick them apart in the first half. So they got to step it up on defense. They got to find a way to get to the quarterback because that secondary can't hold up. It's going to have to be a shootout, but I'll take Baker in shootouts. I'm confident with him.
That's why I'm picking Washington to win. I'll say.
you got to look at the Mike Evans, Marshawn Lattimore matchup. Mike Evans, the first ballot Hall of Famer. I think he's the most underrated wide receiver maybe in the history of the league. But
there's something about that man across
he gets under his skin. We've seen him kicked out of a game. We've seen them fight, and I think this he holds them to about 43 yards per game. Now Lattimore's been hurt a lot this season. We'll see how that plays out.
I mean, listen, it's the best wide receiver cornerback hate going on since Andre Johnson and Cortland Finnegan years ago. Remember that?
Yeah. They dropped the gloves, and there's really no gloves. Like I think on the first play of a game one time, they're just going at. You know what's funny though about that is like Mike Evans is a super chill, laid back, nice guy, like an all-around, like Walter Payton Man of the Year nominee, community, everything, service, like everybody loves him. But something about Marshawn Lattimore, man, gets Mike Evans into a whole other mood, a whole other level. So I'll be there Sunday night. I'm disappointed that the Eagles and Buccaneers are back-to-back because I just don't. I'm going to be at the Bucs. I can't watch the Eagles game and chart every play the way I just am used to, like from the comfort of my office, recliner. I'm going to be somewhere in a stadium getting ready to cover another football game. Why couldn't they break it up? Notice how it's 3 straight AFC games and then 3 straight NFC games. I would have liked to see the Birds and Packers at 1, but obviously it's a big. That's the Brady game, right? Yeah, I think it's the Brady Fox game.
That is correct. Yeah. Of course, then there's those rumors out there that this could be Brady's last year broadcasting. But
he's got a Super Bowl to go out with if he wants.
He can go.
I will say this about Tom Brady as a voter: fantastic job. Asks me a ton of questions and makes sure he gets everything in on time and clean without any mistakes.
But see, that doesn't surprise me. I don't think the problem is Brady's preparation, his research, his poignant everything. I think what Julian Edelman said 2 months ago is the problem. He was on Kay Adams' show, and Edelman said that Tom needs to stop trying to be the greatest broadcaster and just be Tom Brady. I think Tom tries so hard to be perfect that if as Edelman said, if he just goes out there and it's just Tom Brady, the broadcaster, not trying to be the greatest broadcaster to ever live, I think he would be so much better.
I just don't want him to turn into a buffoon either. Like start these over talking and doing some of the things that some of these other guys do. And
you mean Romo?
You said it, not me. Yeah, there's some guys where you want to mute the TV. There are some guys where with Brady, at least I don't want to mute the TV because I feel like I might learn something. But yeah, I think that's how he's wired though. He tries to be I could just tell as a voter, he's asking questions ahead in the time. He doesn't want to make mistakes. He doesn't want to get anything wrong. He wants to make sure everything's done. And that's why he was who he is as a player.
Right.
He would strive for perfection on the field.
Yeah. I think that mentality, it's got to go through a bit of a metamorphosis. When you're on the broad, listen, I know for me, and I am nowhere near as the level of Tom Brady's athlete, but Rob, I was a hyper competitive athlete when I played sports when I was younger, to the point where I literally had a coach tell me that I want to win too much when I was in high school. So
nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. You're super competitive. That's what separates the champions from everybody else.
But you have to utilize it properly is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And I think Tom he's still going through that phase. And I think the problem is, and I feel like you and I could do a podcast about this because I got to let you go in a couple minutes. I got to go to break. But, when you look at these athletes all transforming into the media space, I think the biggest problem all of them are having is the opposite of Pat McAfee, which is they don't have the right people around them. I think these guys are coming in and they're not either getting advice, they're either not getting help, or they're getting help and advice from the wrong people who are not helping them to be their best self. Because, I was listening to an interview with McAfee, and he talked about all the people in the broadcasting world who took him aside and said, hey, do this, do that, trying to help him. And I look at some of these other athletes and I'm wondering, who's that person for them? Who's the person who's, helping Tom Brady be more relatable? Who's the person to help Jason Kelce be better at delivering a speech off a teleprompter, right? Who are the people? Are they really helping them, or are they just saying, "Oh, you're Tom Brady, you're Jason Kelce"?
I don't think they have, Josh. I don't think they have those guys. I don't. What would help Jason Kelce would be to maybe not accept every paycheck thrown at him because he's oversaturated in the market.
Overexposed.
Overexposed for sure. But I think part of that is that they're not getting that kind of preparation or those guys who are able to coach them, to guide them, to give them those instructions. Whereas, McAfee, I don't know who he said, if he pointed out anybody specifically who may have helped him along the way. I'm sure people gave him some bad advice too.
I know the one name he mentioned was Rich Eisen from the NFL Network, that apparently, Eisen was I remember him mentioning that Eisen was very gracious to him. So
That's impressive because some guys aren't willing to help, and that's where you need to. I feel you don't necessarily need help from other guys in the profession. You should be able, there should be guys who can coach and guide and monitor and really help, who aren't because there's a lot of egos, and part of the problem with a lot of these guys who aren't a Tom Brady, lesser names, they're trying to make a name for themselves that they couldn't make on the field.
Yep, that's exactly what it is. All right, enough of us yabbering. Rob, I appreciate you jumping on at Rob Maaddi on the Twitter X platform. Of course, check out all of his coverage at apnews.org. And, of course, he joins us each week here on 97.3 ESPN. Rob, hopefully after this weekend you can get some sleep.
Thank you, man. I'm about to go coach a flag football game at 9:15 under the lights, and it's 60 degrees, so it's kind of cold for me here in Florida.
Just stop, okay? It's like in the 20s right now up here, right?
I'm sorry. I'm whining about 60. Sorry, Josh. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the football.
Jesus said, "Count your blessings, Rob." Come on, faith on the field.
Absolutely, I will. Amen.
Take care. Rob Maaddi here on 97.3 ESPN. Yeah, we went really, really long with that section. So, all right. So before we get out of here, we got college football tonight here on 97.3 ESPN. I got to be blunt with you guys. I don't actually have an outright pick for the college football game tonight, but I do have a point of, if this happens, one of these teams will win, which is, I genuinely believe that. But the problem with Texas and Ohio State is these are two teams that are boom or bust. These are two teams that have a very, very long history of, just this year, of when they're able to execute, they can put up a lot of points. When they don't execute, other teams shut their offenses down. And if Chip Kelly and Steve Sarkisian can replicate some of what their teams did in previous weeks as play callers, this will be a high-scoring game. I know it sounds crazy, but I think the team that gets the 30 points first wins the game tonight at the Cotton Bowl. All right, I know a lot of you are looking for picks. I'll try to rapid fire a couple of them here because we went so long with Rob Maaddi there. So I do think the Eagles win this Sunday against the Packers. And honestly, I think that what's going to happen is that this is probably going to be a low-scoring game. I don't see a lot of points, so I like the under 45.5. I also like the under 43.5 for the Ravens and the Steelers. And as I told Rob, I do like a high-scoring game with Tampa and Washington over 50.5. Thanks to Rob Maaddi for joining the show. Thanks to all of you for listening on 97.3 ESPN. I will be with Billy Schweim this Sunday for our Eagles pregame show with Billy Schweim in the locker room live with the chicken and the egg in Marlton. So I'll give my official Eagles pick this Sunday, but I do think the Eagles do win. 97.3 ESPN.
This Sunday, come join us at the Chicken or the Egg in Marlton, New Jersey for our Eagles pregame show. Josh Hennig and former Eagles tight end Ken Dunnick and I will get you ready for the Packers wildcard game. We'll get the keys to the game with Fox 29 News sports anchor Scott Grayson, brought to you by Blitz's Market. Plus, my fantasy football guru Brian Hartley checks in with his fantasy picks, brought to you by Charlie's Bar. It's our Eagles pregame show live at Chicken or the Egg in Marlton, New Jersey, Sunday morning from 10 a.m. to noon on 97.3 ESPN.
Tune in to the Bet365 Play of the Day during the Sports Bash with me, Mike Gill, every weekday afternoon at 5:45 on 97.3 ESPN. Made possible by Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365.